If happiness is largely biological, can we then find similar emotions in our genetic relatives? Yes, says anthropologist Helen Fisher.
They've got the same chemistry for happiness and the same architecture of the mind to be happy. And you can see them being happy. A chimpanzee laughs. When a chimpanzee finds a group of bananas in the woods, he will jump up and down, smile, hoot with the kinds of sounds that are expressions of pleasure.
For years of evolution, she says, people who were happy were more likely to survive, because people like happy people.
People who were happy had more lovers. People who were happy had more children. People who were happy had more support for their children. Those children survived, and we passed on the brain physiology for happiness.
Wouldn't a group of very nervous, alert people be more likely to survive? If you're happy all the time, you aren't watching out for animals. I would think that the Giggle twins would be the first to be eaten by the tiger.
Well, the reason that they will live on is they'll have an entire support system that will be watching for the tiger. Happy people have lots of friends. Happy people get people to cooperate with them.
Yeah, we can share a lot.
People to see the world their way. And support is essential to survival.
Still, happy and unhappy people manage to evolve. Davidson gives his test to hundreds of people, and the scores distribute like this. Very happy people, like the Giggle twins, score over here, to the right of the blue line. And the people way to this side of the blue line are miserable?
Yes, the people way on this side report very high levels of anxiety, tension, jitteriness. They're scared.
At least I wasn't in the lowest group.
Your data, John, are depicted in this yellow line. And what that shows is less left-sided frontal activation than the average person. It's not extreme, but it's certainly less than we see in the average.
And not a hopeless case.
You're not a hopeless case, but you know, you can stand some improvement.
I'll buy that. It's what my wife keeps telling me. And even if happiness is 50% biology, that still leaves 50% we might change. When we return, suggestions from the experts on how we might change. All right, if our capacity for happiness is half biology, what about the other half? We've seen that money and the things it buys don't do it. So what does work? Something must work, because despite all the forecasts of doom we hear from people in the media like me, most Americans say they're quite happy. When you give people that test that asks them which face best describes your life, most Americans pick these three. On that scale from 1 to 9, Americans average 7. Solidly happy. So what are the ingredients of happiness? Well, there's no one-size-fits-all guide. What works for some, say exercise, irritates others. But the psychologists say if you define happiness as both momentary joy and lasting contentment, several things make a difference. Control is one. How much control do you have over your life?
At Rutgers, psychologist Michael Lewis runs tests that show even babies are happier if they can control some of their environment. Researchers tie a string around a child's wrist. When the string's pulled, a picture appears. Eventually, the babies figure that out, and they like that, making the pictures happen. If they take the control away and the pictures don't appear, the children withdraw or cry. They get even more upset if the pictures then appear randomly. When they give them the control back, they're happy.
Control at any age is an important aspect of feeling good.
A few years ago, when Chrysler was concerned about morale on its assembly line, company management tried something radical. It gave the workers more control. Workers helped redesign this plant in St. Louis. For example, they said it would be easier if they could put in the seats before the doors. But the biggest change was allowing them to stop the line anytime they have a problem or think there's a defect.
The line will automatically shut off. The workers today have more of a say-so on what goes on around them.
10 years ago, it wasn't a very happy place that you wanted to come to every day. Now, you get up and it's a very happy place to come to.
If we think of ourselves as victims, if we think that our life is out of control, we live with less joy.
This may be why people in authoritarian countries, say Poland 10 years ago, rated themselves as less happy. It's not just because they're poor. Brazil is just as poor. But people there say they're much happier.
People that live in nations where people are empowered, in West Germany as opposed to East Germany during the 1980s, for example, report greater satisfaction and just visibly look happier than people living under conditions where they feel very little control over their lives.
Another component of happiness is optimism. When problems happen, are you confident you can make things work out better? This may be my problem. I'm always worried that terrible things will happen.
They actually have tests to measure how pessimistic or optimistic we are with questions like, say you haven't gotten your taxes in yet. Is it because A, you always put it off, or B, because you were just lazy this year? Optimists pick B.
I would think somebody who was pessimistic would be happier because they'd always be pleasantly surprised that things didn't turn out so bad.
But in fact, it's optimists, people who expect the best, who are the happiest.
They also perform better. Psychologist Martin Seligman at the University of Pennsylvania tested a team of top American swimmers and found the optimists were better at overcoming setbacks. His tests showed one of the most optimistic was Matt Biondi. At the 1988 Seoul Olympics, the pressure was on Biondi to win gold in every race.
I swam 99 meters, gold medal time, world record time.
Matt Biondi going for the gold.
And I made a mistake. One mistake at the very end, and I lost the gold medal by the thickness of your fingernail.
Biondi deserves the loss because he could have won that race.
Professor Seligman was sure Biondi would recover because defeat spurs optimists on.
They'll treat a rejection as a challenge, as an incentive to try harder.
The more I tried and the more I failed, the more determined I became to try again.
A few hours later, he came from behind and swam the fastest 200-meter split in history.
Matt Biondi will win gold for the USA.
In a matter of 2 hours' time, I had turned from bitter defeat to ecstatic victory.
Navy Lieutenant John McCain says it was his natural